What if the MCU didn't move forward after Endgame, but secretly circled back because it had no other choice? What if Avengers Doomsday exists because Marvel finally realized where the story truly broke? Welcome back to MovieCast. I'm your host, Liam Harrison, and today we're diving into the most important Marvel revelation in years. The Avengers Doomsday trailer didn't just tease another big crossover, it quietly confirmed something far more shocking. Marvel went back to Endgame on purpose. The Russo brothers have now confirmed that Doomsday directly follows Endgame, not just chronologically, but thematically. For years, the multiverse saga felt scattered, disconnected, and strangely hollow. New heroes arrived, old ones left, but nothing felt anchored. That's because Endgame wasn't just a finale. It was the last time the entire MCU moved in one direction together. Almost every character after that existed in isolated bubbles, never completing full arcs. By making Doomsday a true sequel to Endgame, Marvel fixes its biggest narrative wound. Instead of pretending Phase 4 and 5 were building towards something cohesive, Doomsday reframes everything as consequences. Consequences of time travel, of the snap, of choices made when the universe was desperate. Endgame wasn't the end of the story. It was the fracture point, and Doomsday is where Marvel finally admits it. That fracture begins with a mystery fans argued about for years, Steve Rogers going back in time. Endgame told us he returned the Infinity Stones to preserve the timeline, but the moment he chose to stay with Peggy, something changed. The Russo brothers always maintained that Steve created a branched reality, while the writers claimed he was always part of the main timeline. Doomsday quietly settles that debate. Steve did create a new timeline, and he lived his entire life there. That reality still had its own frozen Steve Rogers trapped in ice, meaning two Captain Americas existed simultaneously. The key detail is where Steve chose to stay. Evidence now suggests he didn't choose a world where Captain America would rise again. He chose a world where Captain America had already died, a world that needed hope, but would never get it from the Shield. That decision alone reshaped an entire universe. Steve didn't just retire, he replaced destiny. This matters because that timeline wasn't erased. It kept growing, evolving, and eventually breaking. The MCU didn't abandon Steve Rogers after Endgame. It hid him in plain sight, building an entire unseen reality around his choice. The Doomsday teaser finally shows what that life looked like. Steve and Peggy, older, quieter, holding a baby. Steve's reaction is not the reaction of a man holding someone else's child. It's instinctive, protective, overwhelmed. This confirms what Winter Soldier hinted at years ago when Peggy kept photos of children that were never explained. Those children were real, just not in the main timeline. Steve Rogers became a father, and that changes everything we thought we knew about him. This child isn't a side detail or an emotional epilogue. This child is central to Doomsday's entire conflict. Born from two realities colliding, Steve from the main timeline and Peggy from a branched one, the child carries something no other being does, multiversal resonance. This isn't about super strength or shields. It's about energy that exists between universes. Steve didn't just live happily ever after. He unknowingly created a living anomaly, a being whose existence destabilizes the multiverse simply by existing. That's why this timeline eventually attracts attention. Not from heroes, but from something far worse. That's where Robert Downey Jr. returns, not as Iron Man, but as Dr. Doom. Marvel has now confirmed Doom is a Tony Stark variant, and his origin is directly tied to the snap. In his universe, something went wrong. Tony didn't die snapping his fingers. He absorbed the power fully. The Infinity Stones didn't kill him. They transformed him. His body survived, but his face was scarred, his mind fractured under God-level awareness. Imagine Tony Stark with the knowledge of every possible future, every failure, every universe that ends in death. That kind of power doesn't create a savior. It creates a controller. Doom is what happens when Tony's fear of chaos finally wins. He didn't lose Pepper or Peter or the Avengers. He lost control. And that was unacceptable to him. Doom becomes obsessed with preventing universal collapse, not through heroism, but through absolute order. He believes free will is the flaw that destroys reality. To fix the multiverse, he needs specific components, not stones, but beings. This brings us to the real reason Marvel introduced so many children across recent projects. These weren't random legacy characters. They were ingredients. Franklin Richards can create entire universes from thought alone. Hulk's son can regulate infinite radiation without dying. Thor's daughter, Love, is literally powered by eternity, raw cosmic creation energy. Billy Maximoff can shape reality based on emotion and belief. America Chavez can travel the multiverse without causing incursions. Each of them represents a function the multiverse itself struggles to control. They are living solutions to cosmic problems. Doom doesn't want to destroy the multiverse. He wants to stabilize it permanently. But even with all these pieces, something is missing. A bridge, a conductor, someone who exists between realities instead of within one. That missing piece is Steve Rogers' child. The baby born from a man out of time and a woman anchored to a branched reality carries energy from both sides. This child isn't powerful by choice. They are powerful by origin. Doom's plan, referred to in the film as the Doomsday formula, is terrifyingly elegant. Franklin Richards serves as the conduit, creating the framework for new stable universes. Love provides the raw cosmic energy to fuel the process. Hulk's son stabilizes the radiation output so it doesn't tear reality apart. Billy shapes the outcome, molding the new reality through intent. America, Chavez opens the pathways without causing multiversal collapse. And Steve's child becomes the anchor, the living battery that allows energy to flow between universes safely. Doom believes sacrificing one child to save trillions of lives is not only logical, it's merciful. This mirrors the exact argument Vision once made to Wanda. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Doom doesn't see himself as a villain. He sees himself as the only one willing to make the hard choice. And that's why Steve Rogers stands in his way. Steve refuses. Not because he doesn't understand the stakes, but because he understands them too well. He's already lived in a world built on sacrifice. He's seen what happens when people become numbers. Steve knows that the moment you justify sacrificing an innocent, you've already lost the future you're trying to save. This is where Doomsday becomes the true sequel to Endgame. Thanos believed balance required genocide. Doom believes balance requires control. Steve stands against both. He assembles a multiversal Avengers team, not to win a war, but to defend an idea. That no future is worth building if it costs the soul of the present. This explains why Steve is sidelined physically. He doesn't fight on the front lines anymore. He leads. He inspires. He becomes the moral constant across collapsing realities. The bench isn't retirement. It's command. The final act of Doomsday leads directly into Secret Wars. Doom's partial success fractures the multiverse beyond repair. Incursions accelerate. Realities begin colliding faster than anyone can stop. The only solution left is a soft reset. Not erasing everything, but choosing what survives. Secret Wars isn't a reboot out of desperation. It's a rebirth out of necessity. Characters, relationships, and histories that matter are carried forward into a new foundational timeline. Steve Rogers doesn't cross into this new universe as a soldier or a symbol. He crosses as a father, having protected his child and proven that the future doesn't belong to gods or tyrants, but to those willing to choose compassion when logic says otherwise. Endgame closed one era. Doomsday explains why it couldn't stay closed. And Secret Wars ensures the MCU can finally move forward without forgetting why it mattered in the first place. If this breakdown changed how you see the MCU, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to MovieCast for more deep dive stories like this.